Hi, so sometimes in life you get those pinch me moments, and this has got to be one of them for me because I am here chatting with Darren Lee, who is performing as the King in The King and I. It's coming to the Manchester Palace Theatre from the 9th to the 13th of May. Now, Darren has been in show business since he was just a little nipper, performing in Disney's Kids Incorporated. He's gone on to perform in so many TVs and movies and things like that, such as Hackers and Chicago. He then took Broadway by storm with an endless list of shows, including Guys and Dolls, Allegiance, again, Chicago, Miss Saigon. Honestly, the list goes on. But he didn't stop there. He then decided, I'm going to start directing and choreographing and putting his name to musicals in Broadway, regional theatre, touring, and then started producing shows for cruise ships such as Disney and Holland America. So we are with a very talented and busy person. So thank you for chatting with us at Manchester Theatres, Darren.
It's my pleasure, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So The King and I. Now, this was the first musical I was ever in, so it holds a big nostalgic place in my heart. So I find it hard to believe that there's people out there who might not know this story, but just in case there are, who better than the King himself to explain it to them? So could you tell us what the story is about?
Sure. The story of The King and I centers around the King of Siam and a British school teacher that he brings to Siam in 1862 to try to teach his children. The king at that time believes that his country is in jeopardy of being swallowed up by surrounding countries. And it's a country that has lived very much rooted in tradition, where he is the ultimate ruler of his people. But he does realize that these other powers who have military strength are compromising his ability to ultimately survive as a country. And so he brings Anna Leon Owens, the school teacher. This teacher is very smart and strong-willed, and so they have a very contentious early relationship that then develops into sort of a beautiful friendship and mutual respect, culminating in the second act number, Shall We Dance? It's a really, really stunningly gorgeous and complex musical that develops these characters, and you get to see them go through a lot of wonderful emotion, and a lot of humor is also in the show. And it's a beautiful, beautiful production to be able to present this story.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the King, he is this very powerful, very complex and flawed but proud man. And as you say, he has utter belief in the customs and the traditions of his country until he meets Anna, when he starts to get in a doubt and things like that. So can you tell us a little bit more about the King as a character and how he changes when he meets her, I suppose?
Sure. I think that when anyone lives in a particularly sort of isolated circumstance, and they run things in a way that they believe is right for their country, I don't think that you necessarily have to open your eyes to the ways that things are done, in other places, until that comes knocking at your door in a way that compromises ultimately your future. And I think that it is very difficult for the King initially, of course, because to be able to rule a country, ultimately, you have to always know the answer. You have to always be the one to go to and the final decision. It is not about negotiating. It's about guiding everyone with confidence in a particular direction for their best interest. It's only after understanding that he can't ultimately survive in that same course, that by bringing Anna Leon Owens or any outside source from the Western world, he is forced to both educate himself as well as try to adapt his country to be able to survive, in the modern world. Ultimately, that is something that is extremely difficult for him, of course. And it's something that there is a learning process. But what he ultimately learns is that by allowing this to happen, that he is ultimately educating the next generation of his rulers, and the king that will soon be after him. And so that's really what ends up being a lot of the story.
Yeah, and he kind of reaches out to the Western world and the British, beyond Anna, who comes over, and obviously they brand him a barbarian, and even though Anna doesn't agree with a lot of what she's seen, such as the slavery and the second-class citizen of women and all of these kind of things, she actually stands up for him and says, actually, no, he's not a barbarian. Just because he does this doesn't make him a barbarian. So that's a massive pivotal moment in their relationship as well.
That is correct. I think that when other countries don't necessarily understand the way that a particular country is being ruled, they impose their own rules and their own sense of morals onto that country. And so I think that by calling the king a barbarian, it's these invading countries' plan basically to say, well, he is a barbarian by our standards, therefore we need to take over that country. It's a very complex political, social dilemma that we deal with today very much. Everyone lives somewhere, and we all believe that the rules where we live are the most appropriate, and we try to impose them morally onto other places all the time.
And I think there's a really clever way within the show of actually dealing with this, and it's the Uncle Tom's Cabin section, because obviously the British are invited over, and I remember even when I was doing this as a kid, and they all dressed in the European sort of Western costumes, I was like, no, don't change who you are. But actually, what they do is they take this story of a Western story that is about slavery, so it's kind of like, you see, you did it too, and they present it through this traditional Siamese dance. So for those that might not know what on earth I'm talking about, can you just explain a little bit about the Uncle Tom's Cabin section?
Sure. In the second act, there is a play within a play that is it's framed up as a entertainment provided for the British visitors, basically to show them that we are cultured as well. Does become slightly more complex in that there is a character of Tuptim who has written this play and is presenting it at this occasion. And so it is both a surprise to the King of Siam, as well as to the British, the actual turn that this story ultimately takes, which is based on Uncle Tom's Cabin. And so it is, I think like all really, really wonderful pieces of theater, having a show within a show that happens in the second act that allows us to hold a magnifying glass, not only to what we are seeing as an audience member, but for the people within the story to also discover something. It's a really wonderful device, and it is done in the most extravagant and beautiful and technically and choreographically stunning way that you can imagine.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. And we've not even spoken about the music yet. These glorious songs by Rodgers and Hammerstein, Whistle a Happy Tune and Getting to Know You, Shall We Dance? I mean, like I say, Getting to Know You for me was, obviously I was one of the children when I was in it, so that's a big one for me. Do you have any favorites or any sort of nostalgia songs, or ones that you wish you could sing that you don't sing?
Well, there are so many, and I honestly can't pick one. I do absolutely love Shall We Dance in the show. The thing I think that is very interesting to think about when you think about classic musicals is that at the time that these shows were written, we didn't have the internet and all sorts of different forms of media. And so a lot of the way that our actual pop culture was being absorbed into the society was through musical theater. And so it was a time in which the popular songs of the day and musical theater aligned to be one. And so I think that you see that they have this staying power because of that. Exactly. They show up in pop culture, they show up in television commercials, they show up in ways that we have infused them into our livelihood. And so I think that is why they become classics.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously this is a huge production, directed by Tony award winning, every other award winning director, Bartlett Sher. I mean, he's just a genius. And you
Yes.
actually played this in America first. So what's it like working with him, first of all, but has there been a change from that production, sort of bringing it across the pond? Has anything had to change?
Well, this production originated at Lincoln Center on Broadway, directed by Bartlett Sher, which is it's a very large venue, as well as it was a thrust stage, so it juts out into the audience. To be able to adapt that production to be able to tour the United States, it was just designed slightly differently to become a more proscenium-based show, but all of the gorgeous elements of the costumes and the scenery and the staging and the direction by Bart all remained intact. I was part of the U.S. national tour, and so I got to tour the United States. I got to play the King. I was actually in the ensemble initially, and then I got to play the King as the show progressed. And then after that, there was the London Palladium production, which was also very large and extravagant. And then by the same token, a small adaptation of that production to be able to tour into all of these UK cities. And so it's really wonderful to be able to continue the journey with such a gorgeous show. But your audiences can definitely be rest assured that the essence and beauty of that original Lincoln Center production is really still very much present.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Honestly, I'm so excited. Even this morning when I was getting ready and I had Magic at the Musicals on, the songs came on and I was like, it's meant to be today. It's meant to be. So obviously we said that you have directed yourself as well. So do you have any proudest moments as a director, or any favorite shows, or anything kind of going on in the background that you're able to share?
Well, I've been very fortunate to sort of be able to transition into performing and then directing and choreographing, and then now I get to do a little bit of both. I think that even though my career started initially, often I would be offered a director or a choreography job of a show that maybe I had perhaps been in on Broadway or something, which I think is a natural progression. But I think the most satisfying projects have been the ones that I've been able to develop from the ground up, that have completely original stories and things that get to completely sort of come out of my own creative mind. And so I think that I designed a show called Disney Wishes for the Disney Fantasy, which is a cruise ship that is still the show is no longer there, but it played for 5 years on a Disney cruise line. I did something similar for a Norwegian cruise line, and I'm in development for 3 new shows right now. One is based on Mr. Holland's Opus that I served the choreography for. Yes, it's written by B.D. Wong and Wayne Barker, and a new show called The Gifted Prince that is based on the remarkable journey of Prince Chen, which is a novel, as well as a new show called a musical called Tiananmen, based on the 1989 incident in Tiananmen Square.
Wow. Oh, you've just made, I love that film, Mr. Holmes. I love that film.
Yes.
So special. Oh, so obviously throughout all of this, you have worked with huge names. I mean, you've worked with Sondheim, Julie Andrews, Cheetah Rivera, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and honestly, there's going to be now people out there name dropping you, saying, I work with Darren Lee. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who would kind of be looking to emulate the kind of things that you've done in your career? Because you've done so much. It's so impressive.
Well, I mean, I didn't set out trying to necessarily reach a particular level or meet a certain person or celebrity. I started singing and dancing because I really enjoyed it. And I think that my parents recognized that me putting on shows in my living room meant maybe we should send them to the local dance school. And that, transitioned into a video being sent to sort of a TV program that was sort of, it was called Star Search. It was basically like, it was like a competition based show. I was lucky enough to be the champion on that. And that led to the TV show and led to discovering musical theater in high school, which led to Broadway, which led to more and more. And so all I can really say is, if you have the ability and the support to be able to follow your dream or follow what you really are interested in, do it for yourself. Do it to the best of your ability, and opportunities present themselves. And as each one presents itself, you can decide whether or not it's in line or not in line with what you ultimately want your end goal to be. And I think that that's kind of what I've tried to do. And I've been so fortunate that all of these wonderful opportunities, as well as amazing people, have been able to be part of that journey.
Yeah, that's incredible advice. Just keep going, stay true to yourself, and grab opportunities.
Yeah, if you can, absolutely. And also, I do have some other advice. Is that, especially in the arts, is that a lot of people sometimes believe that they are only defined by one thing, and so they might have trouble accepting that, oh, maybe I can't get a day job or a survival job because what I really want to do is be an actor. Well, being an actor that makes a living at the same level as other jobs is not the same thing as just having the opportunity to act. And so sometimes it's just, you just got to get out there. You do that for the passion. You let your other job pay for your passion.
That is exactly what my dad has always taught me. Yeah, so brilliant advice. Thank you for that. So before I let you go, just to finish, obviously you've had these American audiences, you've had these British audiences, and then obviously you did the little bit on Big Night at the Musicals, which was enough to get me going, oh, I can't wait. So is there any other reason that you want to sort of say to people, come and watch this show?
I mean, I think that you will have a fantastic time. I think that people think they know what The King and I is from maybe seeing it played on TV once a year, or maybe they saw a small production of it done somewhere, but you have no idea what it can really be until you see something on this level. And I think it's really, really exciting to be able to share that with people. And I would love for people to experience it.
Thank you so much. There you have it. By royal command, you have to come and watch The King and I. You've got to do it. So thank you so much. Come along, watch Darren Lee and the amazing cast of The King and I at the Palace Theatre. It's on from the 9th to the 13th of May. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Bartlett Sher productions are huge. So thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see you. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Karen.
All the best. Thank you.
Bye-bye.